Hi everyone, my name is Lulu and I have an autoimmune disorder. I'm going to try to make this video as brief as I can because it's a lot. It's definitely a big timeline. There's so many things that have happened, so many symptoms, so many ER visits, so many doctor's visits. So I am going to try my best to make this as brief as I can while still giving you guys all the information that's necessary. Personally, I didn't think I'd be telling or making it available to the internet that I have an autoimmune disorder. When I first got diagnosed, I was like, I'm only telling my parents, my best friend, and my boyfriend because I didn't feel like people had the right to know, about my medical information that's personal. And I was afraid that someone would use it against me. I don't know why, or how, but I guess I was being a little bit paranoid. But those are all things that I thought of. But let me start at the beginning and try to make this as clear as I can. The reason I am telling my story is because one, the autoimmune disorder that I have, I don't present with the main symptoms. So it's been hard getting some information on it. Um, and second, I'm sure like many of you might relate to this. I've always been told that for the longest time until now, that it was my anxiety, that it was stress, and that's where my symptoms were coming from. So I just want to put this out there, and maybe someone, even if you don't have the same symptoms as me, you can advocate for yourself to get the required testing done so you can be diagnosed. Because until now, I had no clue about autoimmune disorders. And if I did, I honestly would have advocated for myself way before this, but I always put all of like my medical needs right in the hand of doctors, thinking that they're going to lead me down the right path. And I'm not saying I've had horrible doctors or anything, but it's taken me this long to get a diagnosis. So definitely it seems some self-advocacy is necessary in the medical system that at least we have in the United States. Hopefully this helps you, and if you relate to it, I'm sure you know the struggle is so real. First things first, I just only got my diagnosis in October of last year. I've turned 22 years old since then. I'm not an expert on autoimmune disorders. I'm not even an expert in my own disorder, but I'm researching, I'm learning. So, what I have is called Sjrogrens syndrome, and Sjrogrens is systemic. So, it attacks a lot of different parts of your body. But typically, people that have Sjrogrens have dry eyes and dry mouth because it seems that Sjrogrens seems to primarily attack like the glands the most. The issue, and part of the reason I'm making this video, is because I don't have those symptoms. I'm not someone that has dry eyes or dry mouth. So even my rheumatologist was very surprised when my diagnosis was actually Sjrogrens, and that's what I came back with instead of something else. Usually, Sjrogrens comes alongside other autoimmune disorders such as lupus or arthritis. Researchers aren't entirely sure yet why people even get Sjrogrens, but it can be due to an infection or it can be genetic. So you can be genetically predisposed to Sjrogrens, and I want to call it like sleeper cells. I don't even know if that's the correct term for it, right? But let's say like you've been fine your whole life, but all of a sudden you get an infection, and that can trigger you having Sjrogrens. And for me, as I mentioned, I don't have dry eyes, I don't have dry mouth. I'm someone that just has, or not just has, but I have a lot of pain. I have stomach issues. My body hurts all the time. I get the weirdest sensations. Even right now, this for me is pulsing. And that's a normal day for me. My chest on my left side hurts all the time. Sometimes it can be here though. My legs hurt. Sometimes they'll numb easily. There's so many just weird things going on in my body, but the biggest part is that pain. And I've had this chest pain that I've mentioned since I was in sixth grade. That's definitely like when it started. In my life, I've always had like some sort of medical issue, but my medical issues before weren't like life or death. They mostly stem from the fact that when my mom gave birth to me, it was like an emergency C-section. So when they pulled me out, they broke like some vessels in my nose, and I have or had what's called a hematoma. And you might see it here. I ended up having like basically like a ball of blood there for like the longest time when I was little. And you can see the scar now because it's been removed since then. And it used to be bigger, but as I've grown, it's grown more like, like discreet. I don't mind showing it though. I think it's like a unique part of me, right? And the thing is though, like those weren't like life or death issues necessarily, and after those were resolved, I was a pretty healthy kid. If I got sick once a year, that was like a lot, right? And middle school, my chest pain started. And I'm not saying that I wasn't sick because, chest pain was horrible for me, but I wasn't getting like a cold. I wasn't getting like a flu or anything. I just had this really bad chest pain that would just come out of nowhere. Usually last about a minute or so. If I breathe, it would hurt. But if I just like literally stopped, slowed down, like it would go away in about a minute or two. I went to like my doctors about it. They would do tests and stuff. Everything would come back fine. My lungs would come back fine because, sometimes if you have chest pain, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem with your heart. It can be your lungs or other parts of your body, but everything would come back fine. And that's when I started getting told it's anxiety, it's stress. And mind you, I was a pretty like carefree kid at that time. I was like live, love, laughing. So I wasn't anxious and it wasn't stress for me, but that's what I kept getting told to the point where even I convinced myself, okay, it has to be like anxiety, right? And that's how my life went for a few years, all the way up until high school. So, as y'all might remember, a panini happened in 2020, the pandemic. I was a sophomore in high school at that time, or I think, yeah, we have become sophomores or already, at least us. And everybody, obviously there was a lockdown. I ended up getting COVID with all of my family. I was one of those lucky people, I would say, that one, I survived COVID, but two, for me, I didn't get a fever or anything. For the first few days, I did have a lot of body pain. The worst part, I would say, was losing my sense of smell and my taste because I adore food. I'm such a foodie, guys. And not being able to like smell or taste anything for more than a month, I want to say, was pretty horrible. But in a lot of senses, I was lucky because I was alive. I've heard that there was people that had COVID that like were throwing up like the entire time, like because my grandma got it and we honestly didn't think she was gonna survive it. But she had like a lot of stomach issues with it. And well, my great grandma. And I was just I felt lucky, right? But then this happened. And this was, I believe it was 2021 still. It was Christmas, right? The day of Christmas. I know, come on, Lorda's ruining everyone's Christmas. But this happened late at night. I started getting chest pain. I thought it was just the same chest pain as normal that I've been getting since middle school. But then it didn't go away after a minute or two. And as I breathed, it hurt more and more and more. I couldn't lay down because when I tried laying down, I felt like something was being yanked from me. Like I mentioned, I couldn't breathe. I remember it was late at night at this point now, so I like literally made my way into my parents' room. I was trudging. I was like, I need to go to the ER. My chest hurts. My parents looked at me and they're like, okay, are you sure it's not the same chest pain that you usually get? And I'm like, no, I literally can't breathe. Like, I can't do anything except stay like this or it gets even worse. They take me to the ER, specifically my dad. We get there. I was so lucky that I got a room almost right away because usually that ER is not like that. Even, and I'll tell you the story later on, when I had a kidney stone, I had to wait like almost an hour outside in the most horrible pain. But we got in, they did an EKG, everything looked good. I remember the nurse, I told him I literally couldn't lay down because it hurt. And you know what this mofo does? And I'm so sorry, but like mofo, because he just goes like this and pushes me back into the bed and I saw hell. It was like oh my God, it was like someone was yanking out my chest. And later, after a few hours, it comes back, right? Oh, you have pericarditis. And pericarditis is the lining of the heart. The lining of the heart is inflamed. So it's not necessarily like your heart itself, but that's why I was in so much pain. They were a little confused because usually it's older people that get this, people with other health issues, people I believe they said that are like smokers and stuff tend to get this too. So they're like, like, can you think of anything? And I'm like, no, I don't smoke, I don't drink, like literally innocent, right? Um, and obviously, of course, you always get asked if you're pregnant. I was like, if I'm the next Virgin Mary. But anyways, that happened. They tell me that within the week I have to get in to see a cardiologist because there wasn't really much more they could do. I had to see a specialist. But we know how healthcare is in the US and how it goes. I honestly wasn't able to go in to see a cardiologist until 3 months later because that was the soonest opening. And that's only because my PCP at that time, I adored her. I'm so sad that she left. She advocated for me, and she was like, because initially they were gonna make me wait like 6 or 7 months, and she was like, how are y'all gonna make this girl wait? Like they told her she needs to get in within the week. But no, 3 months later I go in and they tell me like, you don't have the inflammation anymore, you're fine, everything looks good. And yeah, I was in high school, but I wasn't a dumbass. I was like, of course, like everything looks fine. Like my pericarditis is gone. That's why they told me to come here and to get answers. But of course it's gone. Like my pericarditis, like I lasted 2 or 3 days with it. I was taking the medications. Obviously the inflammation was gone at that point. If it hadn't been at that point, clearly I would have had bigger issues. But they told me everything was fine. In the ER that day, they also found a nodule in my lung, so I had to go to another specialist for that. They ended up doing more testing. They found out that it was like benign, everything's good. It was microscopic, so that part was good. And they asked me like, "Can you think of anything?" And I was like, "Well, I did have COVID, not even like 3 months ago, but they told me that like it couldn't have really been because of COVID or would have happened sooner." I think it's what I think it was the cardiologist actually that told me that. So there we go. I move on with my life. I'm healthy. I go vacation with my parents. Life is great. I'm still having those chest pains, but not like pericarditis. And I go through my high school life like that pretty much. Then comes college. Freshman year of college wasn't that bad. Just the same chest pain, a lot of body pain, stomach issues, stuff like that, but not anything like super crazy. Um, they wanted to test me for asthma just because I was having like some coughing issues and stuff like that, but not anything insane. I would say it was really sophomore year of college, so 2 years ago, because I'm a senior now, that things really started getting bad. Sorry, I guess my camera decided to disconnect, but you could ask anyone. I was always sick. I was always coughing year round. I even started getting spring allergies. I used to be one of those people that never got spring allergies. I could frolic through a field of pollen and I wouldn't cough, I wouldn't sneeze, nothing. That started happening. So I was like, I don't want to say I was high on allergy medicine all the time, but I pretty much was high on something because, like, I always had to be taking Tylenol because of my chest pain and my body pain. Then I had to be taking allergy medicine on top of that. It was quite the year. And I even got the flu, first time in my life that I've ever gotten the flu. And it was worse than COVID for me, at least physically, because it had me throwing up. I really couldn't feel my body. I was underneath like 2 or 3 blankets and I was freezing cold. My dad had to pick me up from campus. Like, horrible, horrible. And that happens. Obviously, I'm still going to my PCP, but everything keeps coming back fine aside from like, oh, like you have the flu, you have a little bit of a cough, like you have like allergies, like nothing crazy. And then junior year of college comes around. I decide to start doing school online and I started working full time at a call center. Currently at the company I'm still at, but now I'm doing a different role. And I will say, I do think stress really triggers like autoimmune issues even more because I was so stressed out Not necessarily because the work environment or my coworkers were bad. They were amazing. I loved everyone I worked with. I still keep up with them. But because of customers and calls, because like, guys, customer service sucks. People suck. People are so mean. But anyways, I was really stressed out once again, having those spring allergies. I was having colds. I was having a lot of stomach issues. Me and my other coworker, guys, we stocked that fridge with Pepto-Bismol because I was having to take Pepto like every other week. I don't know why. Um and this was this was actually like early August because I switched over to my new role in September, and my old PCP ended up leaving and I got my new PCP, and I told her about how like I had to be on Pepto-Bismol. And so this all connects, right? Because I'm like here sick all the time. I did end up like leaving that job and going down to part-time, which for a while I felt really good. I didn't wasn't really sick, but I did go to my PCP. I told her those issues. We did testing for celiacs. We did testing for lactose intolerant, but also, she was my new PCP and she read through my file and she was like, "Girl, you're always getting sick." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I don't know why." And she's like, "I think you might have like some sort of autoimmune issue because like this is not normal." And I was like, "Oh, like I had never really thought about that." And like I feel like I said it in the beginning, but if I had known more about autoimmune disorders, I would have advocated for myself to have gotten tested a long time ago. And she did what is called an ANA test on me. It's a blood test, and I came back positive for an anti-nuclear factor. I do thankfully not have celiacs, and I'm not lactose intolerant. But the thing with celiacs is apparently that test can come back like falsely negative if you take the other. I don't know. It's very complicated, but I came back negative for those. I did have an ANA test. I came back with the anti-nuclear factor, and that's when I got referred to a rheumatologist. So I ended up going in, I want to say like almost end of September, going into October. And she did some testing on me. She asked me like, "What are your symptoms?" And I'm like, "My body hurts. Like I'm always having chest pain." And at this point, she could see my medical history. Like I've had pericarditis, I've had kidney stone. Kidney stone, guys, worst pain of my life. That also happened to me December 30th. And me, like a dumbass, ended up going into work that day because I was like, my poor girls at the contact center, they're gonna be engulfed in calls. And I was getting out at 2 p.m. that day. So I went in. I was a trooper. I really was a trooper because kidney stones, worst pain of my life. I felt like I was giving birth or something. I've never given birth, but I imagine that it feels at least like a fraction of that. It was horrible. I was breathing in pain. I didn't even get any pain medicine in the ER. They didn't give me anything until after they found out I had a kidney stone. And by that point, it passed. So I wasn't in pain. So I spent 1 to 2.5 hours in the worst pain of my life, screaming, crying, praying to God. My mom crying beside me because she had never seen me in such pain. It was horrible. Anyways, where was I going with that? Oh, yes, my rheumatologist. She looks at all of this, and she actually didn't think that I had Sjrogrens. She thought it was gonna be lupus. So when she did the testing, and after it came back like a week later and we consulted, um, like, yeah, she was shocked. I was shocked. We were both shocked for different reasons, but the general feeling was shocked.
Okay. Whatever that means.
As I mentioned already, generally people that have Sjrogrens, even the rheumatologist was like, "Well, you don't have dry eyes and dry mouth." She thought I was gonna have lupus. So it was a shocking diagnosis. I was told though, like Sjrogrens doesn't necessarily decrease the amount of time you're here on earth. But there is no medication, there is no cure for it. You don't cure Sjrogrens, you cure the issues that Sjrogren can give to you. Another thing that I was told is that at any point in my life, I can develop lupus. One, because I'm Latina and I guess we're more genetically predisposed to it, but also because I have Sjrogrens. So I have to go yearly anyways to get tested for that, or at least to see like how I'm doing. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm actually have to go in before the year because my body pain has gotten even worse. I have other testing that I actually need to get done. I'm finally going to a gastroenterologist after all these years. I'm just waiting to get an appointment with them. I've been having the worst headaches ever. So just because I got my diagnosis, it doesn't mean that I'm like here in La La Land and like everything's been great. But basically, she gave me a pamphlet, right, on like what Sjrogrens is, and also was explained to me that, it is systemic, so it attacks other parts, which can explain why I have so much like body aches and chest pain. And we did do testing for my chest because everything came back good with my heart. We moved on to the lungs. And I could be explaining this badly, but basically she told me there's a part of your lungs that like even like an x-ray, I believe, can't really catch. So we did do like some scans, and she's like, if those scans come back fine, but your chest pain is still there, it's likely that that's the part of your lungs that's inflamed and that's why it hurts, but we just can't see it on a scan. And obviously if the scan doesn't come back fine, then it would be whatever is on that scan. My scan did come back fine, so it's assumed that basically that part of my lungs that they can't really like see is inflamed. I think it's the lining of the lungs, if I'm correct, but I have to get a refresher when I go back. And it's just a lot. I think too, just having an autoimmune disorder so young. Even my PCP now has told me like, girl, you're so young, like live your life. And I'm like, I know, because like I swear I'm in her office like every other month. And I've, was going to the ER a lot because I thought I was dying. And then the last time I went to the ER, they found me with absolutely nothing. But I have been having the worst chest pain and loss of breath for like the 3 days. I thought like there was something super wrong with me. And the doctor was like, you're young, you're fine, you're good. But I will say they didn't even read my file to see that I had pericarditis and inflammation in the past until I mentioned it. So there's that. Always advocate for yourselves, even if they give you an answer that everything's fine. But yeah, even after that, he's like, everything's fine, everything's good. Sent me home. I get a letter after that, like, hey, you're in the ER a lot. Like, you need to get like a primary care doctor. Like, let us find you one. And I'm just like, I do have a primary care doctor. I'm just literally dying. And that visit was before I got diagnosed. Thankfully, I think there's some pros to being diagnosed because, well, there's a lot, right? Like, one, you know what you have and you're not crazy. For the longest time, I thought it was all in my head. I really did think it was my anxiety. I really did think that I was the one making myself sick because I couldn't control whatever was going on up here. So getting a confirmation that it's not me, it's not really something I can control, was really relieving. And I don't know, it was like, there you go, ER. Like, see, I'm not fine. Like, everything's not okay. Like, I'm not some hypochondriac that comes in here every few months or so just because I want to. Because, like, that's my thing. Who wants to be, like, in the ER? I feel like most people don't. I didn't. Like, long ass waits. Like, no. But it felt like a in your face, which I know is so silly and like immature, but it was finally like, I knew it. Like, I knew I wasn't crazy. And so now, because I do have that diagnosis, I don't frequent the ER because I know that at least, or at least I think I'm not dying, or anything like that. I've also started a more non-inflammatory diet. I have to do better with that because the thing is, I love fries. I love junk food. So it's been hard getting rid of those habits, but I'm getting rid of those. I've started exercising more and it has helped, but I can't control my body. So the past 2 weeks, I haven't been able to exercise because all of a sudden my body pain started getting worse when it was like gone for almost an entire month while I was like exercising and eating better. But it got to the point where I couldn't even breathe during the exercises. I started getting that horrible chest pain while exercising again. So I had to stop. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. There is no ending to it. There is no like, oh, here, this is the end of the story. And with an autoimmune issue, and I'm sure people that have it, or even people that are waiting to be diagnosed, it's so hard because it's not visible. So people don't think that it's real, or people think you're over exaggerating or you're just sensitive. Um, and I haven't had anyone necessarily tell me that to my face, but you can tell in the reactions of people like, oh, like you're sick again, or like you're feeling bad again, like you're always sick, you're always feeling bad. And it sucks because I don't want to be this way. I want to be just like every other 22-year-old, just get up and go, do everything, have all this energy. And there's days that I am just like a normal 22-year-old. And there's other days where I feel like I'm 90 years old. Everything fucking hurts so much, and people just don't understand. And one thing I've heard a lot as well, you've been living with this before you got diagnosed and you were fine. What changes now? And that's a good question, right? Like, I don't know what changes now. All I know is that I'm having symptoms. I'm even having new symptoms because I'm getting older. I've had this for a long time, it seems. Like, there's a lot. It's hard not having energy some days. It's hard, like, having all these random pains. It's hard when I'm here, like, having the best day ever, like, with my boyfriend, and then all of a sudden I get a pain that stops me when I was literally fine seconds ago, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, even I don't believe myself sometimes because I'm like, how can I feel this sick? How can these things just randomly happen to me? It's a lot to take in, that's for sure. And then a month after getting my diagnosis, while I was still processing and coping with things, because they're like, oh, Sjrogrens, like you're not gonna die from it. It's not like you got diagnosed with cancer, but like you still think about it. You still think about how it affects you. And there's risks that come with Sjrogrens too. Like you're more predisposed now to getting certain types of lymphomas, which is scary. And then, sorry. And then not even a month after my diagnosis, my great grandmother, who I love very dearly and I'm named after, passes away. And it was like getting hit with a train after getting hit with a truck. So that was that. And then I had some other personal things going on in my life. So I had the worst few months of my life last year, all at the end of the year, all together. Sorry, I'm not crying. I'm just like thinking and like feeling, right? It's a lot, and I think that the most important part too is to advocate for yourself, cuz I keep saying this, but if I had known about autoimmune disorders, I would have advocated for myself more. If I had been someone that's more like outspoken in the sense of like I don't mind conflict, or like you know what I mean? Like I always like feel hesitant to speak back to doctors or figures of authority. Maybe I could have gotten answers like earlier, but I didn't do that. And I not saying it's all my fault at all, right? But I'm like, damn, like I could have helped myself out more and I didn't. So I just want to put it out there, advocate for yourselves, research, bring your problems to your doctor. Even if you have to diagnose yourself and like tell them like this is what I think I have, even if you're incorrect, at least it'll get you on some sort of path to testing, because a lot of times, and it feels like for women, they always tell you it's anxiety, it's anxiety, it's anxiety. And a fun fact is that actually 90% of people that have Sjrogrens are females. So there's that. Just honestly, like advocate, advocate, advocate. I know it's easier said than done, but do try to lower that stress, because when I am stressed out, I do feel like I get sick more and I have even worse symptoms. Um, and honestly, like, I want to say continue living your life, but it's hard to do because your life is altered in a lot of ways than someone else that doesn't have an autoimmune disorder might be. But I think it's finding those alternatives. And sometimes for me, like, just not even thinking about it helps. Like, even if I'm in pain, my body hurts a lot, I try to push myself through the day and just do things and try to like forget about how I'm feeling. Even though Advil is like my best friend most days, but it's just pushing myself through because I'm like, I still have my life left to live. I'm still 22 years old and I'm trying not to let how I feel stop me. But that's the best piece of advice I can give. I'll probably be making more videos the more I find out, or if anything changes, or if you guys have any questions. But yeah, this is the reality for me. There isn't a happy ending, there isn't a conclusion. I don't know if things will get better. I don't know if they ever do, or if things will get worse, but this is where I'm at right now. So take care of yourselves. I hope you all have the bestest days ever, and I wish you all the best health possible, because I'm figuring this out as I go. There is nothing more valuable in life than your health. So